John, I'm happy. I'm very happy. You know why?
Why?
Because
Why?
Nico Collins,
Oh,
a
yeah.
happy guy,
Okay.
has been rewarded, and he's going to be around for a while. And that makes me excited. We're going to go very in-depth with Nico Collins and kind of share a memory or two about him. But I'm also happy, John, because my twins, Marie and Robert, I say our twins, Vita and myself, my wife,
Yep.
they just turned 11 today. So it's a big day for us. We're excited.
Happy
11 years
birthday,
ago
twins.
today. Yeah.
This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very
So
cool.
it's a nice double shot of good news because the twins have their birthday. And Nico Collins, which let's talk about number 12. 2 years ago, had a solid rookie year, but he was in and out because of injuries. He didn't get to play. But we saw glimpses in that season opener at Cleveland. Takes one about, 20, 30 yards, and he's instantly out. It's like, dang it, that's just a glimpse.
Yep.
Always a good interview. Always a fun guy to talk with. Really, really cool. Learning the game. Second year, in and out, but still shows glimpses of maybe there's something there. And then this year, CJ Stroud, Bobby Slowick come in, and they got the key, and they unlock Nico Collins. Now, we knew, and I've said this many, many times, but I'm going to say it again right now. We knew going into the draft, coming out of the draft, Nico Collins is a tall, big-bodied receiver. Hey, he's probably going to be able to win those contested balls. Let's see what he does after that. So we knew he had the big frame. And then seeing stuff like the Cleveland Browns reception, and then his second year, he was wearing, they all wear those GPS devices, tracking devices. And there was some play here in a loss. He had a big gain, and he was moving something like 21, 22 miles per hour. And it's like, goodness, he has speed. We forget he's a fast guy.
Yeah, he could
legitimately fly. He's a fast guy. But then when you saw him add in the components of violence after the catch, I'm going to call it VAC, not yak, because he did get yak, but he also tacked on VAC to it.
Yep.
He even got the scepter for angry runs in the game, the season finale at the Colts. Yep. Everyone remembers the first touchdown, or to start the game, the 75-yarder. But later, he doubled up on a guy and shoved him into the end zone and got a big gain down close to the goal line, and that got that VAC, that scepter for the angry catch. But I love seeing that was not an isolated incident. He was punishing guys after the catch last year, and it was so much fun to see because he's the damn nicest guy off the field. He's always there to interview. He's always going to say something. He's a stand-up guy, win or lose. He's always going to talk to the press. He's not just a front runner in that regard. So I am happy. I'm happy to see good people who are good at what they do get good rewards for that work. And it's a happy day for me. I think you probably echo a lot of those sentiments. And I know you've got some thoughts about Nico as well.
I was so happy when I saw this news, kind of a peek behind a curtain. Mark had an event last night, season ticket member event on Tuesday night. So we're recording this on Wednesday. So we had that event, so we had to record a little bit early. So we got it all set, all done. So I'm driving to get food, and I look, and it was like the best of times, worst of times, because I was like, hell yeah, Nico. Oh, God, we got to re-record. So we had to scramble to get that done, but we got it done. And then Mark went to the event, which was great, by the way. In 2019, when Nico was at the University of Michigan, he averaged nearly 20 yards a catch, and he led the Wolverines with 7 touchdowns. And I remember thinking, this dude is on the verge. This guy is about to become an absolute superstar, because quarterbacking at Michigan in 19, I don't remember it being great. I can't remember.
It wasn't what it was in 23, was it?
No. So then COVID hits. And I think this is where Nico got shortchanged, and everybody in the Big Ten got shortchanged, because the Big Ten called the season off, said, no, we're not doing anything. So Nico goes to start his draft prep. And then weeks later, it's like, oh, no, we're going to play. We're going to play. Everybody come on back. Come on back. It was like, I've already committed to doing my draft prep.
So rotten.
Let me just stick with it. So he misses a whole year of football, 2020. So then in 2021, banged up, doesn't play the entire year, ends up playing 14 of 16 games. But one of those games, like you said, was the Browns game where he played one play. Caught that slant right across the middle, started smoking dudes, gets tackled, lands on the shoulder. He's out for a few weeks. So I think a lot of people, what got frustrating for me was a lot of people talking about Nico. Well, he's not a number one. He's not this. He's not that. And I'm like, let's hold off.
Yeah.
Because he was injured those 2 years. And obviously, he understood what he had to do to get his body right so those things weren't happening. He missed all of 2020. When he went to the Senior Bowl in 2021, I remember watching him thinking, oh, this was rough. But I also knew he was banging off rust.
Yeah, it was his
A
first
full year of
football in over a year.
Yeah, it was well over a year.
That's late January. I mean, it's 13, 14 really months.
Right.
You know?
And so he hadn't played since that year of 2019 when he had 37 catches for 729 yards. So he's just under 20 yards a catch, 7 touchdowns. And you're like, this guy can be special. Well, then take a whole year off, not by his own doing, be banged up those first couple of years. And obviously, you said it. I think there were a number of things that kind of unlocked the Nico Collins box. Obviously, this offense helped. I think the focus for Nico, and we talked to Nico about this a lot, because we were asking him early in the season, like, man, you're really doing stuff after the catch. He said, yeah, the coaching staff really challenged me to catch the ball and turn it into a runner. And you bring up that play, and I'm glad you did, because that's the play to me that gets forgotten. Because when you think about that Week 18 game, you think the deep route, and then you think the one that he came across the field where it looked like CJ didn't.
Yeah.
And he lays out and makes that catch. And a lot of people think of those two.
And justifiably so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, tremendous play. Like, think about that game. That's because you're about to add in this third one. That's 3 huge plays. Just one of them alone, you've had a great game.
Right.
You've had a great game. And he had 3 of those. But
I felt like, to me, play 3 really encapsulated everything about Nico, because it showed a couple of things. One, his comfortability in his offense. 2, it showed that vac yak, violence after the catch, yards after the catch. He catches a bubble screen, and we were I think on the Colts 30 or something like that, maybe closer to the red zone. But he catches a bubble screen, and then he showed for every single asset that makes him what he is and why he got paid. He runs away from Zaire Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
And Franklin dives, and Nico has to kind of hop out of that just a little bit. And then you see the speed with which he's turning up the sideline. And then Jalen Jones, who's a pretty big corner, is a rookie for the Colts.
That poor guy.
Decides he's going to try and tackle and take on Nico, and Nico just says no. And runs him over, knocks Jones out of bounds. It slows Nico down, obviously. Jones then spins back inbounds. 3 yards later, Nico runs him over again.
Mm-hmm.
A couple plays later, CJ hits Andrew Beck for the touchdown that gave the Texans a bigger lead in that game. I don't remember what his numbers were. There was like 9 for 190 or something like that. And I just remember the Colts had no idea how to stop him, slow him down, or whatever. Even a big catch, like right before Devin Singletary's touchdown that gave us the 23-17 lead, he hits Nico on the glance route. I think Nico got interfered with, or there was some penalty that got added on top of it.
Right.
And there's another massive catch. It's like every catch in that game.
It's like an asterisk 200-some yard day.
Yeah.
If you add that one in, yeah.
It's just amazing what he was doing. He's not a diva.
No.
He doesn't sit there and demand the ball.
No, John.
He is far from that.
Okay, we all talked this time a year ago, really basically at D'Amico Ryans' intro press conference, swarm. That became a big deal. Swarm mentality. And if you're like me, maybe you're not, but if you're like me, the first thing when you think of swarming and you think of football, you think, okay, it's a running back running with the ball, and then a D lineman pops him, and then pretty soon and stands him up, and then pretty soon you see a couple linebackers and maybe a safety in a corner pop in, and then they're pushing the pile backwards. It's a defensive thing. Well, with Nico Collins is the swarm mentality.
Yep.
At the wide receiver spot. You don't think about wide receivers and being, but what he did on that play, what he did throughout the season after the catch and using all his talents and skills.
Yep.
He was the swarm mentality. I talked about it a little bit with him.
Absolutely.
I talked about a little bit about it with him at the uniform kind of photo shoot that you guys were at. I was at one night, you guys were at the next night, and he was like, yeah, and he embraces that. And I mean, how can you not get excited about a guy who plays a game that way, does it off the field in a great way? It's a happy day for me. I'm pumped for him.
So, this is kind of a longer story, but I For some reason, when I went to my podcast page and you and I did an In the Lab like post game, and we did it for the Jaguars. Now, for some reason, it was showing that as a podcast I needed to listen to. And it was after the Jags home game, the one we lost.
Yeah, it was a close loss here. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, why is it showing me this one? Why? There's so many other great ones. Like, why not it was showing me that one? I don't know why. But Nico was the player that I ended up interviewing after the game, which I hate doing.
Yeah.
When we lose a game and I've got to talk to a guy. I remember talking to Andrew Beck, and Andrew was the greatest. And he was just like, man, I just appreciate the softball questions. I was like, yeah, man, what am I going to ask you after our loss? I was like, hey, why did you, I'm not going to ask that. It's not what's, but I just remember Nico always has that spirit with him.
Yeah.
And he was, I said, I think it was Everett went, hey, will you talk to John after the game? He's like, yeah, no problem. I'll talk to him. And he just answered my questions straight up. What do you got to do the following week? And it was just his spirit. And we got done with the interview, and I just, shook his hand, and I just said, hey, man, I'm so sorry for that. He said, John, I understand. You got to do your job. I get it. We'll be okay. And I was like, it was just the reassuring nature of Nico. He's not a diva.
Yep.
And he's so far from that. When he's on the same page with CJ, it is magical. And when he is making plays after kid, we're seeing it at OTAs. Last week we got to see them, and we got to see them twice. And it was fantastic to see what they're doing and how they communicate and getting on the same page and the big plays. I mean, I think the contract is warranted. I think for people that are like, well, listen, contract is paid for what you think a guy is going to do.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling in a short amount of time, we're going to look at that contract and go, man, did we get a steal? And Nico ends up getting $24 million a year, which is going to, for the next how many ever years, which is going to change his life, But I just wanted him to stay a Texan because, like you said, Drew, he's got that swarm mentality, but yet he's on the offensive side, but he's carrying that mentality over to that side to make sure the offense kind of follows exactly what the Miko Ryans, Nick Caserio, everybody in this organization want it to be.
And it's cool to see somebody who got here during the darkest of times succeed, come through all that, and do great things. Yeah, I'm pumped for the guy, and we're not going to talk about it today, but you're adding him, or you're not adding him, but he's in there with Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Dalton Schultz, and I think there's going to be one or two other wild cards who emerge as really productive pass catchers this year that we're not thinking about initially. Can't wait. I cannot wait. It's going to be fun. John, it's always good to talk with you, especially when it's a happy subject like this. And speaking of happy birthday again to my twins.
Yeah, happy birthday, twins. Y'all enjoy it.
Love y'all so much, and we'll see you. We love you for listening or watching this. And remember, if you're listening on iTunes, just make sure you follow so you can get this on a regular basis. And conversely, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube page, the Houston Texans YouTube page, so you get good content like this on a regular basis to your inbox. So long.